Well, you've probably been wondering where I've been the last couple of weeks. I try to do an upload every week, and it's been tough. And as you can tell, probably from the title of the video, that if you've been with the channel at least for almost a year now, you'll understand that I don't typically call updates special unless I have something to share with you that's very important and dear to my heart. And the last one I did came with loss. A very tough period of my life indeed. This is Jason from Jason's House of Fun and Video Games bringing you today a special update from House of Fun and Video Games. So, where have I been? I know I uploaded a video. A lot of people seem to really like it. Gotten some great comments, some great conversations. It's something different, and that's kind of what I've been looking for, is something to kind of break up the monotony in my own head. I don't want to always do the thrifting, although it's very good for the algorithm, like I said yesterday. But that's not what I'm about. I'm not about that, and I know you've probably heard that from a bunch of different people that have done this, and they get to a point where they don't really have a choice. But I would like to think that I hope that I don't get to that point where I want to just stick with one thing, because I just want to do what I want to do, and that's it. And whatever comes after that is whatever comes. I'm mainly making these videos, like I've always said, to reach out to people who might be having a tough day, or just want to have a good laugh, and put a smile on your face. And I think that's important. That's why I started watching YouTube in the beginning, many years ago, and that's why I've kind of grown to this point. And this is a big crossroad for me. So, I'll get right to it. Over the last year, we have all faced an adversity like we have never faced before. You know what I'm referring to. It's beaten in your heads at this point. It's talked about so much. It's just like picking up the newspaper now, or getting a glass of milk. We've all been going through this healthcare crisis, I guess is the best way to put it. And we've had to change our lives dramatically, with the obvious things that we were told to do to protect us and keep us safe. I want to make it clear that anything I say during this video is not to be taken for granted or taken as this is how you handle anything in life. It's simply my opinion. I'm certainly not a medical practitioner. I'm not a scholar. I'm not a teacher, although I may be in some ways to somebody out there. I'm just a man that wants to spread a message, wants to have some fun, wants to enjoy life. Hopefully you're along with that ride too. But this last year has been very difficult for us. And for me personally, although I want to make it very clear that I'm not looking for any pity. I'm not looking for, views or likes or comments. They're always appreciated, and I know I always ask of you to do that in my videos, because it's really what it's all about, is to grow your channel and reach out to more folks. At least that's how I look at it. It's not a means of financial stability for me, but for those folks out there that can do it, grind out day in and day out, like, here's a little bit of mess. Hats off to you, That's a very difficult decision to make. It's a very big gamble, in my opinion. But if it makes you happy, then do it. That's what the whole point of what I do is, whatever makes me happy. And I think last March, when you saw that special update video, I think it was a very different state of mind. I think I was going through a lot of emotions. The crisis just began, and burying my mother was very difficult. Not only for the simple fact that I lost the most important woman of my life, which still hurts to this day. They say that time heals all, and I don't know if I believe that. I think that you just learn to move forward. But there are times, and I'm alone, on the porch, having a coffee, driving home from work, whatever it is, and I just think about her, and it doesn't make me upset, but I feel a little bit of pain. I think I'm always going to. I still feel it, almost a year later. And I went through a lot of emotions because, I'm going to be honest with you, my mom didn't get the service that I wanted her to have. And it was mainly because of the pandemic. That's just it. I mean, that's just being honest with you. And for a while, I didn't really know how to deal with that. I didn't know how to take it. I wanted my mom to really enjoy her life, or rather, really enjoy the celebration of her life. And some people might have a different opinion on, how death, is and what it does to you. But at the end of the day, I think for me that is a very important thing that I took away after a long time of working through a lot with me. And a lot of friends, family, texts, phone calls, in person when you could, and every other means of reaching out to somebody. It meant a lot to me, and I kind of got through it. And I think my mom would just be proud that I'm sitting here with you today, and I hold myself as high up as I can. Today for me is my birthday, so I am 37 years old. So approximately 1 a.m. this morning, on January 13th, 1984. And for those of you who don't know, I was born on Friday the 13th. And for those who don't know the story behind that, my mother was a very avid horror fan. She loved the slasher genre. She loved Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, you name it, she loved it. And it took about 24, 25 years, I can't remember now, at the time, to get her to spill the beans on it. But I wasn't named Jason because it had a catchy ring to it. I was named Jason because she loved Friday the 13th, and I just happened to be born on that day. So I don't know what that does for you, but it's a pretty good background story for me. And I'm glad that I've been able to grow as a person and come back to this point where I feel a lot more better than I did the day before. But with life, there are the good times and the challenging times. And I don't say bad because bad is a word that's used a lot. If you look at something that's bad, then it's not going to give you anything out of it. And nor should everything give you something out of it, but something that you should take away to maybe prevent. In this case, I couldn't, but maybe do better or improve. Like, I'm all about self-reflection, and I'm not usually a goofball, and I'm trying to keep my composure here because this is a very difficult thing for me to talk about. But I think it's necessary, so you can go back and see the first update and then see this one and see all the differences that I show you and how you can grow as a person. And again, I'm no philosopher, but I do strongly believe self-reflection is a very important thing. After this video, after a conversation, I always self-reflect it. What could have been done differently? The good, the bad, the ugly, the wins, the ops. Like, it's just who I am as a person. And I don't ever claim to be perfect, nor will I ever be, as nobody should be, because that is an unachievable goal. Maybe in some things you can be, but as a whole person, it was not meant to be, I don't think. Well, back in January, obviously it was tough for us last year. That the basement went bye-bye. You can watch all those videos. They're actually pretty humorous looking at them now, but 6 months of dealing with that because of our pandemic that we're in is pretty grueling. And the whole basement got lost, and I was able to save the game room mostly. Cynthia was, along with my plumber at the time. And we got it all taken care of, and like I said, just go back and look at those videos if you want to see more on that story. That's just a part of what I want to talk about. It's kind of a recap, I guess. And then, March 19th, 2020, my mother passed away. She passed away of a genetic disorder she had, and it was very difficult. It's still difficult to talk to you at this point and keep it together. It's surreal that, the one that brought you into this world is gone so early in your mind. But the one thing I've learned about dealing with loss, death, or however you want to call it, is no matter what you do, no matter what you say, you're always going to want more. It's just us as people. We always want to achieve more. We always want to become a bigger boss. We always want to make more money. We always want to get the nice car or truck, or we always just want to do better, want to do more. And sometimes you've got to accept that you've done everything you can, and it's time to move forward. That's my biggest message from today, is moving forward. And hopefully you will get something out of this. And after my mom passed away, I went through a very difficult time. I had to take a lot of time off from work, and I had to quarantine for 2 weeks. I didn't catch anything in regards to the pandemic, but to be on the safe side, I had to do that because of a few other things that were unfortunately around me when my mom passed in the nursing home. So I ended up being okay, and luckily, knock on wood when I can, I continue to be healthy and continue to just move forward with everybody else in that regard. So, after the couple of months after that, I ended up leaving my job after 10 years. Don't really get into the work stuff too much. I don't say where I work or I'll say what I do sometimes, but I kind of just try to keep my life separate from this. But when it comes to a moment where I can teach somebody, or maybe have them look at something a different way, or maybe go, I'm going through something similar, and he's doing all right. Maybe I could do all right. Maybe I could just take one thing from him. Or maybe he's completely foolish. He has no idea what he's talking about. This man's crazy. It could be any of those, and I'm okay with that. Whatever it is you get out of these videos is whatever it is. And hopefully I bring some sort of enjoyment or enlightenment, anything like that to you, because it means a lot. Luckily for me, I'm very resilient and adaptable. The reason why, if I may go back, I left my job is you got to realize that when you're at a job for a very long time, there's a lot of different formalities or different things that can hinder you. And one of them is you're kind of stuck in the same shit, different day routine. You get stagnant, get bored. There's a million things that can happen. But usually for me, anytime I leave a job, and I usually have a job for a long time, 4 to 6 years. Typically more along the lines of probably 6 years I'll have a job. And I stick with it. And when I usually move forward with my career, it's to better myself. And that's just the honest truth. So I'd like to say it's fully to better myself, but at the same time, and again, I won't discuss where I worked or anything like that for a couple of different reasons, as I'm sure you can imagine. But nothing bad, it's just a regular job. But at the same time, it's not the company's fault I felt how I felt. It's really I'll call them the New World Order that came through a couple months before that. And sometimes you fit in the picture and sometimes you don't. And I felt I didn't fit in the picture. I felt I wasn't being treated very fairly. There's a couple different avenues I could have took, but I think at the end of the day, you kind of know when it's time to hang up the gloves and move on, and that's what I did. And it was a very difficult decision, and I had all this other stuff weighing on me. And before that, I didn't really discuss it too much in any updates, but I had to have my dog put to sleep, my bully, my Seamus, my beauty, my everything. He got me through my hardest parts, the hardest parts of my life, until this point where he couldn't be there for me anymore. But there were a lot of dark days, 5 or 6 years ago now, that I really needed somebody with me. Friends and family did it, but at night when you're alone and you have nothing but your thoughts, he sat by me right next to the couch that I slept on. I didn't have to sleep on the couch. I want to make that very clear. I have a perfectly fine bed. I just needed to be in a different place and get better. It took 8 months to do that, and it was very difficult, but we got through it. And to say goodbye to him right after my mom, literally 2 months after, it felt like I can't even begin to explain to you the pain and the sorrow that came with it. But in my opinion, once once a pet gets really old, or it's usually, I've seen a lot of times, they'll get some sort of disease, or the body just starts shutting down. Nobody lives forever, my friends. Nobody lives forever. And you got to make that hard choice in whether the quality of life is there for your pet. And sometimes it happens with people too. And that was it was tough, but I had to let him go. I miss him too, terribly. And my mom. Well, going back before I get all teary-eyed on you. After I got out of that job, within 2 weeks I got another one. So that goes to show you, even though how much in pain I was and still recovering and trying to move forward, I would still be able to be resilient and adaptable. So when they tell you, and I mean they, it's like whoever is in your way of what you want, tells you that you can't do something, that sounds like a real cliche thing to say too, doesn't it? It is, but it's true, at least in my opinion. When they tell you you can't, you prove yourself right that you can. Not prove them wrong, it don't matter. And I did. When I left my job, it wasn't the most mature decision for me to make. I didn't leave on bad terms, I did the right thing about it, but usually when you leave a job, you should probably have something else lined up. That wasn't the case for me, so if that's any indication of how I was feeling with my, at that time, employment with the company, you couldn't only imagine. So I kind of leave that at that. And I've been with a new job, ever since, and, over the last year, my grandmother's really digressed. Before everything happened with my mom, I keep going back. In February, she fell and broke her pelvis, and she was 87 years old. And when you're that old and you have a couple of different conditions, had a heart condition and a couple other issues, things happen, and you change. She unfortunately also had dementia, which is basically your brain just reverts back to a child, and eventually if it gets to an advanced stage, it goes into Alzheimer's. And I'm probably saying that wrong, but whatever, you know what it is. That's kind of like the prerequisite to Alzheimer's, but she had that, and because of that, she couldn't spend the last hours with my mom like I did. And that was a really tough part of getting through that time when I lost my mom with her, and I didn't get to see her. The pandemic was going on, it was in full gear, nobody knew what the hell was going on, and I could only wave to her from a window inside the nursing home. But luckily for us, she was able to come home so we could take care of her. And me and my girlfriend Cynthia, who you never met before, maybe someday you will, she doesn't took camera shot. I wouldn't hold your breath, but you never know. You saw her hands yesterday. Watch that video if you're interested to see anything else. With her guidance over a long period of time, and then just really turning it up this last almost year, we really had to sacrifice a lot in making sure that she got the proper care she needed. When traumatic events happen and you have a disease like that affects the mind and your brain and your functions, whether it's a fall or a traumatic event, it usually advances it pretty quickly. And from where I saw her before to where I saw her then, like her first step into that, where it got really, really bad. Or not really bad, but really bad, I guess. I don't really know how to describe it right now, but she got in a massive car accident a couple of years ago, and that kind of kick-started the process to advance. And then, of course, she broke her pelvis. And again, it's not anybody's fault. She just lost her balance. It could have been from a number of reasons, and life happens, I guess, right? So we've been taking care of her ever since then. Trying to spend the most amount of time with her, trying to make her happy, and as soon as October came, right after her birthday, which is 30th, so right before the 31st, which is the best day of the year, other than my birthday, of course. That's just my opinion. I got to spend a little time with her in the game room. I got to spend a lot of time with her, but this time was very particular to me. For whatever reason, I can't explain it. I really can't even begin to explain it to you, but for whatever reason, I had a VHS that I knew about. I wasn't sure where it was, but for whatever reason, I found it this day. And you got to remember, at this point, a little bit after October, I think it's probably this past month of December, or end of November. Everything's kind of mixing around. I'll get to it soon, but For whatever reason, excuse me, I had to find that. I was able to find it. I don't know how I did, because we've done so much moving around in here. Like, my grandfather got this tape recorder back in the 60s or 70s, I don't remember, but it didn't have sound. It was one of those really early ones. And somebody took it, put it on a VHS, because back in those days, I think it was 8mm, and you have to have this big giant projector to play it, which I think I have, but I don't know. But somebody was nice enough to put it on to VHS and add some music to it. And I'd love to show it to you, but at the same time, I'm trying to keep some of that out of this channel and just include you in as much as I feel comfortable with, I guess. But also, it has a lot of music in it, and I'm pretty sure it's copyrighted and blah, blah, blah. I don't feel like dealing with that. Although I'm not monetized, I don't like having to go in and re-edit it or tell them to shut off the music or whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's just annoying. But it's part of your agreement with them, I suppose. So I guess you just avoid it as much as possible. But we sat there downstairs. They had a really nice picture. I might even use it for this thumbnail, maybe, because it kind of represents a different place in my life, whereas before you saw the shadow in me sitting there, and all the things that can go with a shadow is just emptiness and sorrow and unsure. And I think now I'm not like that. I'm very sad, and, excuse me, but I think that I'm in a different place, and I accept things a little bit differently than I did before. So we got to sit there. It's old videos of her and the family, even some people I never even got to meet. My great grandfather, him moving around. He, passed away unfortunately in '78, and I was born in '84, so there was no chance of me meeting him. And I just get to hear great stories about him and everything like that. My great grandmother, all my aunts and uncles, when they were younger. And I looked at her before I put that on, and I said, I'm always running fast. And, I do spend time with my family, of course, like I said, that's very important to me. But I think in life we're always going too fast. And if anything this pandemic has taught you, because there's not a lot of good that's come out of it, but I think for me, it's kind of taught me to, maybe you should slow down a little bit. Maybe you should just appreciate things a little bit more. Not that I don't, but I always think you can improve. That's how we work. That's how I work, at least. And we stopped. I said, we're going to stop time. And she couldn't really hear me, but I kind of just wrote it down so she could understand it. And I said, stop time for a moment. Forget work. Forget everything. Just shut the door, and we're going to sit down here. We're going to enjoy ourselves. And if I only knew. If I only knew. And that's where I say you want more, and you wish you could do more. But it was a special time. We enjoyed ourselves, and it meant the world to her. She talked about it every day up until recently. And there's a lot of other things, but for whatever reason, that's stuck in her head, as it does to me. Now, unfortunately, like I said, life happens, and a couple of weeks before Christmas, or the holidays, whatever you want to call it, we call it Christmas. So, whatever is whatever, right? She fell again, and this time she broke her hip. And if you really need to get hospitalization or get seen by the doctor because it's a serious medical condition, in my opinion, you probably should do it. I know that there's a lot of what ifs out there, and it's very nerve-wracking, but they do test you daily or every 3 days or whatever it was. So if you're nervous about coming into contact with what's currently due to our pandemic, at least you'll know, and you gotta outweigh the good with the bad, I suppose, or you gotta take care of yourself. So we couldn't go see her. Christmas passed. Didn't feel the same. I wanted to really celebrate it with her and have her with us and opening gifts and just watching the kids. It's not about meeting them, it's about the kids. I get what they've always said. I've never been that kind of person to worry just about gifts, but she came back about a week after. Or no, I don't remember now. It's all a blur to me, but she came back pretty recently. and we wanted to get her into rehab because we wanted to get her hip back to normal and get her moving. And they just told us that it'd probably be best if she came home. All the nursing homes and around the area and places for rehab were closed. Not closed, but not taking current patients because cases started going up again. And they just have to be safe and do the right thing for their place and the people in it. So we're going to try to do what we could at home. I'm working full time, and it's tough on Cynthia. And my grandmother was close to being bedridden at that point if she wasn't already because of that. And then we had hospice get involved. And hospice, in my opinion, and however you feel about it, I felt a lot differently about it before my mom, but they were very helpful through this whole time period and process, so I can't thank them enough for that. We got them involved to kind of help us come, once a day or a couple days out of the week or whatever it would have been, to help Cynthia take care of her. She couldn't really move because of the hip, and then because of that traumatic event, the dementia had advanced even more. And once it gets to a certain point, it not only reverts you back to when you were as a child, but you lose function. You forget to swallow. You forget how to swallow. You forget how to move. You have moments of clarity, but you see a very dramatic turn. And I went to work that Sunday. She was all right. We were having a tough time on Saturday, but once I got home and we were able to talk to hospice and one of my family members, we had realized that it was the beginning of the end of life. And when that process begins, with what she had, there is no stopping it. And they're very uncomfortable if you try to intervene, from what I'm told. So, my grandmother fought hard for over a day. And luckily for us, I was blessed again to be a part of the end of life process, like I was with my mom. And she was surrounded by her family and me, which I'm a family. And she passed away peacefully. We just had the services for her yesterday, a nice mass, and we buried her with my mom and my grandfather. I truly believe she's in a better place. And what that is, I couldn't tell you. It's up to anybody's imagination, I suppose, or whatever you believe in. But I know my grandfather and my mom were waiting for him. She got to say a few words to me before, almost the day before it happened, where clarity came. And sometimes this happens with the end of life process. What she had, you have moments of clarity, and she talked to me and she talked to Cynthia, and it was very special. I got to say my goodbyes, and some people don't. During these times, a lot of people are saying goodbyes through windows, and I could only imagine that sadness and that sorrow that comes with it. So in 1 year, and again, I'm no better or worse off than anybody else, I lost 3 very important things in my life. 2 people, a beautiful mom. What I will tell you is this: I might be visibly upset to you, but now, unlike before, I'm going to take the time I need to be there for my family, for my kids, for Cynthia. I'm going to move forward and keep going. that is the thing I'll let you in on what we talked about on her final day. I gave her my word that I would do my best to make good decisions for not only myself, my family, and people around me. I gave her my word that I would continue to grow, be a good person, and move forward, and that I was okay. And with today being my birthday, it's very weird, a very weird feeling. And I don't sense guilt, but I sense it's just different. I just had the services in Barrier yesterday. Today I'm supposed to be celebrating 37 years on this planet, which I'm going to because that's what she wanted me to do, and safely, of course. But if the one message I can give to you during this video is, loss is a very difficult thing. Watching the end of life process go through and go forward until the very end is a very, very difficult thing. If you feel that you as a person cannot go through that with a loved one or whoever when you're unfortunately faced with that adversity, don't feel shameful. Don't feel that you are weak. Know that you need to make the best decisions for yourself and everybody else involved. It's a very traumatic experience. It's a very touching experience. It's a very sorrowful experience. I mean, that's probably not a word, but you know me, I like to create my words, but that's really my update, and where do I see myself going from here? Moving forward. Keep creating content for you folks when I can. Spending time with my family as I always have. Speaking with friends when we can and we're all not busy. And move forward. So thank you for everybody out there, not necessarily in this platform, but a very special thanks to all my friends, family, and everybody in between, even some of you, I'm sure, after this video that wished me the best and sent their condolences. It means the world to me. And yeah, that's all I got to say. So I need to go kickstart my birthday with my family and go have some fun. Maybe hit thrift. No video on that, of course. I told you I'm holding off on those and delaying those, but no, just do something. Move forward. Every mistake you make is only a bad one or an unproductive one if you don't learn anything from it. Celebrate your wins. Hold your loved ones close. Not just today. Take time out of your day. Your friends, your family, whoever. Slow down. If this year has taught us anything, slow down just a little bit. Because I'm gonna. And as I always say, the day may come when you can't. This is Jason with Jason's House of Fun and Video Games. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed. Got a lot of people on here now, 82, 83. Comment if you'd like, throw a like on it. Get the message out there. Let's reach as many people as we can with this video, because I want you to see how I've grown and what you can do for yourself to grow if you have to. Be safe out there and take care. Just remember one thing. Sky's the limit.